From WBGO, this is Newark Today, your monthly look at what's happening in and around New Jersey's largest city. And now, here's your host, Michael Hill.
Welcome to another edition of Newark Today. This is this Thursday, August 16th, 2018 edition. We are talking about Amazon HQ2 coming to the great state of New Jersey and the great city of Newark, New Jersey. This is a call-in show. We certainly want to hear all of your opinions. The number to call in is 844-677-9283. That's 844-677-9283. We certainly have with us this evening, once again, the Honorable Mayor of Newark, Ras Baraka. And we also have the President and CEO of Newark Community Economic Development Corporation, Ms. Aisha Glover. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We want to start a little off topic here. We'll get to Amazon in a second. This is a day when many are mourning the loss of the Queen of Soul. 76-year-old Aretha Franklin passed, and she had a brilliant career, spanned some 50-plus years. Mr. Mayor, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a great loss for the country, for our community, period. I mean, not only she was the Queen of Soul, as you depicted, and God's voice came through her. She was also socially conscious and aware, and and like many artists of that time, and it is the end of an era. When you talk about people like Aretha Franklin, I don't know if we ever going to get people like that for a long, long, long time. And it's that music is classic, it's generational. People can feel it, she depicted so much of what our community was going through, socially, politically, religiously, emotionally, all of those things. Right.
And her song, R-E-S-P-E-C-T, was much more than just something that was pressed on the vinyl.
Sure. I mean, it's the sign of the times, she was saying that. And she actually has a quote that talks about human beings need the need to be respected. Like everybody has should be respected and has a right to be respected, or as Malcolm would have said it, to be treated like a human being in this day, in this society, by any means necessary.
You should want to get your thoughts on this because at the time the song came out in the 60s, I think it was 67, a lot of people were talking about what this song meant, not just somebody singing something that would become a big hit, but you were talking about respect for women and for the civil rights movement as well.
That's right, and I think it's really powerful that, that came out a little less than 10 years before I was born. And yet I still feel like I grew up with it. My daughter knows the song. She's 21. Like, it just resonates. It's empowering. Whenever you go to a women's empowerment event and there's a playlist, that song is on, and it's on for a reason, not just because of the words and the lyrics, but because of the woman behind it and what she stood for and believed in and what she spoke about. And so, I've always been inspired by her music and by her message. And I think as a country and as a people, she would just definitely be missed.
WBGO has a tribute this Saturday morning from 10 until 2 on Rhythm Review with Felix Hernandez. That's Saturday morning, tribute to Aretha Franklin on Rhythm Review with Felix Hernandez, 10 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We are here this evening talking about Newark Today, talking about Amazon's second headquarters, HQ2 as it's called. And I certainly want to remind folks to call into the show to participate in the conversation. Questions, comments, we certainly welcome all of that. 844-677-9283. Newark is among 20 cities considered a finalist for the Amazon second headquarters. 238 cities in the United States, Canada, and Mexico all put in bids. Amazon, as reported in several media, have whittled it down to 20, a finalist list of 20 different cities, and Newark is on that list. So that is certainly good news for the city of Newark. Mr. Mayor, the city of Newark has just sweetened the pot. How did it do that to attract Amazon?
Well, we took what we always give out. We give these incentives out to corporations, to businesses, to developers. We didn't do anything super special. We just, combined it over a period of years, what we would be given to anybody, and over a period of years said this is what Amazon would get. We included our payroll tax in that, which is the only city in the state of New Jersey that has a payroll tax. Some people mistakenly believe that that corporations, instead of paying folks pay a payroll tax, but the corporation itself pays that. The employees don't pay that. And, we use that, and we just were creative about how we put together these packages that we already give out and put it together for Amazon. So over a period of years, right? People think we're going to write them a check, and they're going to get a check the first year they come, which is like bizarre, but that's not what's going to happen at all.
I'm reading here the corporation would be exempt from paying the 1% payroll tax for employees who live in Newark, would pay 50% of the tax for other company workers. The waiver is capped at $1 billion.
Right. And that's the only thing that's slightly different than what happened. So right now, any business in Newark that hires 50% plus one of Newark residents gets a payroll tax abatement, period. So we allow Amazon to get an exemption from that, which is the same thing that other corporations would get. The difference is now they could pay half for the employees that don't live in the city of Newark as well. So we just added that to increase the amount that they could expect, or that they could save, I should say.
Aisha, do these kind of offers really attract businesses that are considering a location? Do they really look at stuff like this and say, this is something that could really benefit us, benefit our employees? We should give a strong consideration to moving to X, Y, and Z?
Absolutely. Not only do they attract businesses, but it helps, sometimes it deters businesses who are considering Newark. So, there are a few large corporations, Mars, M&M's, Wrigley was one that, towards the end of their final decision, this came up because we are the only city in the state that has a payroll tax. So while we're trying to use it to help incentivize, we also have to realize what it does as a deterrent for corporations that are currently considering the city. And so we do everything that we can to make sure that we're as attractive as possible for businesses and the corporate community. And so just to kind of add on to what the mayor was just saying, and I feel like he was being a little bit humble, the reason why they're getting 100% waiver for existing Newark residents is to incentivize them to hire locally, right? So if anybody can move here and get a payroll tax waiver for their workforce, as long as they're hiring over 51%. Now we're talking about this major corporation that's bringing 50,000 jobs. If we're talking about 50% of their workforce, 100 up to 100% waiver for anyone they hire from Newark, that's a corporate incentive to hire locally, right? And so the mayor has been very strategic about how we structure these deals and what we're putting into these packages in order to think about the greatest economic impact and community impact for both the residents and small businesses in the city.
How realistic is it to expect that if Amazon's second headquarters were to come here, that 50% plus one of the workers they hire would be Newark residents?
Well, that's completely up to us, right? I think that's a struggle we fight anyway, right? And so when people say, "Oh, they're not going to do it," well, we're fighting with people who've been here forever, trying to get them to do it, right? So when Amazon comes, we don't believe that because they come here, we're not going to have any push and pull. That's our history in this place, So we're going to push and pull until we get them to do what's necessary for them to do, and that's and I think it also benefits them to also do that, right? To hire Newark residents, to develop kind of loyal local employees in their corporation. So I think it benefits them, and it's going to benefit their bottom line as well. So I don't think it's a difficult push for us, but I think we have to be consistent, and we have to monitor, and we have to be on top of it. I mean, we're not giving things away. It's an investment, right? It's an investment, and we expect things in return, and we have to be diligent on our part to make sure that what we want in return we get.
What do you expect in return?
We expect investment in our community. We expect employment for our residents. We expect an increase in our tax rate here in the city. We expect more in the tax coffers in the city of Newark. We expect $5 billion worth of investment here in our community, in and around the city of Newark. And Irvington, East Orange, all these people that are connected to Newark are also going to benefit as well. We expect major transformation in our community because of their impact, right?
Let's go to Carla on the line now, joining us. Carla, welcome to the broadcast Newark Today. You have a question?
Yes, thank you. My question is this. Given the known culture, work culture of Amazon and how caustic it's known to be, demanding of its employees, I'm wondering if, yes, this isn't a boon for Newark and for New Jersey at large, with everything that you were talking about with regard to, employment and stuff like that. But my question is, is the cost, when you think about how they're known to treat their employees and their workers, I just wonder if there's not something that's lost there, and is there any way to kind of regulate the kind of temperament? I don't think there really is. It's just kind of understood, but I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Carla, Mr. Mayor, pardon me 1 second. What do you mean the reputation of how they treat the workers?
So Amazon's known to have a very caustic, abusive work environment. In articles in the Times, there have been people who were former employees who just broke because of the abuse they suffered at the hands of their boss, kind of verbal abuse and maltreatment. And I think yes, in a way, it's this great concept, this notion, this very capitalist notion. You can get anything, you can get it delivered, the customer service and all that stuff, but at what cost, right? They're a good organization, but I feel, they do things that I think in our society are useful. You can get things from all over for a low cost, but also at what price? Ethically, are we jazzed about having them? No pun intended, by the way. In Newark, if that's going to be the temperament of the organization, because that sets a tone.
Well, that's valid, but what corporation? This is capitalism. So at the end of the day, until we are in another place, this is what we have to use, the tools of Western democracy, to make sure that we develop and improve our community. I can name 15 different corporations, some that are already here that treat their employees terribly. We're going to have to fight. If we think that, because I think it's a privileged kind of position to say that they treat workers bad, therefore we don't want them to come here and employ our workers. So they employ other people, and those people will live in the middle class. Our people will have a 14% unemployment rate. Like in some cities, 50% African-American male unemployment rate. Our communities will be devastated and torn apart. And we'll have this kind of principled liberal position that says we don't want Amazon here because they treat their employees bad. Now, we need employment here. And so we're gonna do what we can to make sure that people have opportunities to work. But it does not mean we lay down and allow any practice to take place in our city. We still human. We still alive. We still have a conscience. We still, believe what we believe, and we're going to make sure that our employees or the folks in this community benefit in the right way from a corporation that decides to land its feet here in the city of Newark. And that's not going to be without a struggle, but we're going to do it.
Yeah, and I guess I would add to that, and this is probably not a strong argument at all, but I'll just kind of put it out there. Their reputation is on their warehouse side. This is a second corporate headquarters. That doesn't excuse how, their track record of how they've been accused of treating their workforce in any of their warehouse or distribution facilities. But one of the things that is attracting to potentially having a second headquarters here is just that. That is a corporate office. These are jobs that are that could be far more accessible. They're more tech-related jobs. We know for every tech-related job, you have 4 additional jobs that are created. These are positions that should be accessible by Rutgers graduates, by NJIT graduates, for entry and mid-level execs who are already existing in the city and working elsewhere, right? And so just thinking about the profile of the positions that are going to be available and kind of that are making up those 50,000 jobs, we have a greater opportunity to hold their feet to the fire and think about their treatment of their workforce, but then, what they want their corporate reputation to be, right? And so I think that that's the kind of big elephant in the room. Yes, we know that they have this background and this track record, but how do we use some of the tools and initiatives that the mayor has really laid out significantly for the existing corporate community in Newark? How do we then use all of those tools and initiatives and put them on steroids if we did have a big giant like an Amazon moving in, right? So we already have the foundation, we have the infrastructure, all the groundwork laid to make sure that they're kind of right-sizing some of their reputation, but then also holding them to the same kind of values and principles that the mayor has helped encourage and foster among the corporate community here now.
You're listening to Newark Today on WBGO 88.3 FM and WBGO.org. Call in to us. Tell us what your thoughts are, your concerns, your questions. That's 844-677-9283. Elijah's on the line now and has a question. Elijah, welcome to the broadcast. What's your question?
That's Onaje.
Pardon me. Go ahead.
Yes. Thanks. Congratulations to you, Mayor, and the other official that's there. I wish you well in your work to get Amazon there. But as almost a 40-year African-American professional in sustainable development and kind of an urban watcher for probably more than 50 years, one of the big under-documented phenomenon that has had, categorical negative impacts on our communities is gentrification. And we can look at scores of communities around the country where large corporations have moved in, invested, yes, but as you say, Mayor, it's a capitalist society. It's a capitalist system.
What's your question,
free market.
sir?
So the question is whether the mayor has received any plan, a comprehensive, well-funded plan, a research plan from Amazon to offset in a progressive way gentrification and the destabilization of beautiful communities in Newark and surrounding areas.
Mr. Mayor.
So there's two parts of that I want to address. So his it is valid, the points that he's making, his trepidation about it, but gentrification just doesn't come because of a large corporation that comes into a community. I mean, there's no large corporation that came into Harlem or Brooklyn or Bronx. I mean, these things happen because the market takes it that way. And I don't expect Amazon to have a well thought out strategy to respond to gentrification. That's our job, right? That's our job to organize, to be creative, to be imaginative about what we want to see and develop in our community. And when people say our communities are beautiful, they are beautiful, but they're also underdeveloped. And so that's something that we need to come to grips with. We can't have this romantic idea about what our communities look like. On the one hand, we talk about high unemployment and crime and abandoned buildings and vacant lots and all these other kind of things. We have communities with no ATM machines, no sit-down restaurants, nothing. We've been this way for the last 5 decades or more all over the country. And so other people come into the community and develop and move and raise the rent and the quality of life and everything else, and then they do force people out. But we have to figure out how to have kind of equitable development given the tools that we have at our disposal to do that. And it's going to take courage and imagination, not cynicism, and frankly, the inability to engage, right? So we can say we want the status quo. We don't want these people here. We want the status quo. And what is the status? So what is the status quo? The status quo is high unemployment. It is, all of the things that you see that's happening all over the country systemically in our community. And we have to address that. And I don't expect Amazon to address it. We have to address it. We use Amazon as an opportunity to address these things. We don't expect, they're not in the same frame of mind that we're in. They're not have the same perspective that we have. So,
Mr. Mayor, though, when corporations like this come to town, the part of the concern, I think, of the caller is folks being pushed out of their neighborhoods, longtime residents, prices going up, rents going up, housing prices going up, groceries going up, and folks being left on the sidelines, if not completely pushed out of the community. You have those concerns.
Absolutely. So that's why we are forming, in the process of forming a committee of equitable growth. That's why we pushed for inclusionary zoning. That's why we're pushing for development in the areas of the city. Frankly, I don't think everybody wants to move downtown. People talk about this downtown. I don't think our people want to go downtown anyway. I think they want their neighborhood to look nice. And I think they want their community to be safe. And we need to begin to get investment in those areas and use what's happening to come in our city to invest and develop the neighborhoods where we are already. We don't want to displace people to move downtown. We want to create wealth so we can redevelop communities where people already are. Get them to own homes, own businesses, so they're not pushed out of their community, and to stabilize the rent. So we have rent stabilization, we have rent control, that's why we're pushing for lawyers to represent folks in the city who are being illegally pushed out of their apartments. We're doing everything that we can and trying to be as imaginative. So we have a substantive kind of plan that's growing, and we bringing more people involved in it because we don't have all the answers ourselves. So we engage Rutgers, we engage some of the professionals in the community who think about these things all day, every day, in an academic sense, and begin to try to implement these things in reality. It's not enough to just say these things are wrong, I'm against this. You also have to have a position about what you're for and what you're going to do, and that's more important to me.
We asked some folks out on the street about the city's offer, the latest offer, sweetening the pot, and this is what one man, a concerned citizen of Newark, had to tell us.
Well, from the taxpayer's point of view, I don't think it's beneficial for the city of Newark. I'm in Newark for 40 years, and it's a beautiful thing to see all of the development, but you can't sell the city for one corporation.
Mr. Mayor, at this point, why sweeten the pot? That's my question.
Well, we have to, so it's a competitive thing, and we have to incentivize. So I look at it as an investment, right? I look at it as we are investing and in this, and we want Amazon to come to the table. We have to catch their attention. And when they get here to this table, we begin to negotiate the things that we need, things that we want here in the community, in this city. And I think that really it is almost negligible for the mayor of any city to walk away from 50,000 jobs in a community where the unemployment rate is twice that of the national average. I think it's negligible. I think that if you're the mayor, you have to do what you can to make sure that stuff comes to the city of Newark in any way possible. Even as close as you can get to it, I think that's important, right? So, we feel like the Boston Celtics against Cleveland Cavaliers in the final game here, because nobody expected us to be there. People missing that whole point, Nobody expected Newark to be in this thing with Philly and Boston and D.C. and California and New York, and a small city of less than 300,000 people on the other side of the Hudson is in the running for this. That means that there's something in the bones of Newark. There's something happening here that people recognize. And we have to be trying to figure out in our imagination, our most radical imagination, of what we can do in this time period, at this moment in history, and not be driven back by cynicism and negativity.
What's the total value of the state offer combined with the Newark offer for Amazon?
It's about $7 billion.
So it's a $5 billion package from the state and $2 billion from the city. And again, that's not a blank check. That's a pilot, a payment in lieu of taxes, so essentially coming from property tax abatement, and the second $1 billion is from the payroll tax waiver.
The caller's concerned, I think others' concerned, is the city giving away too much, offering too much?
Well, I would say that if we weren't getting anything in return, if we didn't expect employment, if we didn't expect investment, if we didn't expect the growth of small business, if we were going to redirect some of that wealth in our communities, if we didn't have a strategy to do these things, if we didn't think those things, I think we would be giving the city away. These are things that have been happening in Newark for 50, 60 years. People have been getting tax abatements in the city and giving us zero. So I had a whole debate on Instagram about, the One Theater Square, about, we giving the people tax abatements. Well, people have been getting tax abatements for 50 years. The fact that you don't know that is a problem, right? And we've been giving tax abatements for nothing. We've been getting nothing in return, zero.
Just so that they'll come to the city.
Right, nothing. And so we're at a point where we can say, we need this. And I think that we have to leverage that at this time period to do that. Right? This is what we need. Like it becomes a legitimate investment. I understand the cynicism and a critique of it because historically it's been that way. People have been building and doing all kind of things and not giving anything to the city at all, not even jobs.
Was this latest round of incentives, was this something that was up for public debate, public discussion? Was there notice to residents and so forth?
It still is. I mean, it is goes through the council meeting. It has to be, it's an ordinance, so it's not a resolution. It has to be talked about as a public hearing. Right now, people are discussing it. So, and we're discussing it everywhere. We've been discussing this for the last 5 or 6 months, in fact, publicly. We've had forums in the community. People have questioned us and talked to us about this. So it's a very public discourse that's happening.
Has there been any feedback from Amazon? Is Amazon called the city? And I'm going there, Aisha.
I know you're going there. I see
you know. I'm a reporter. This is what I got to do.
See, the mayor sits back because he knows right now you're going to try to.
I have to ask this question.
We're in a competitive process, Michael. We have not. We will not confirm nor deny. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but has there been, with Amazon weighing the offers, has Amazon in any way communicated to the city questions? Much the same way that a jury in deliberations would go behind closed doors, look at the evidence, look at the facts, weigh things, and have legitimate questions about what it is it has to decide.
I guess I would say this. They're doing exactly what you would expect them to be doing as a large corporation that's trying to figure out where to put their second headquarters.
Due diligence.
Absolutely.
Due diligence. Well, have they given any, I have to ask this, have they given any indication to the city of how much they like the city, dislike the city, where the city ranks among competitors?
So I'd say this in general, and Amazon is no different. When we tour corporations, when we're engaged in negotiations or trying to make our kind of wide Newark pitch, everyone is always surprised. And it's kind of cheesy, but this is why we came up with the Yes Newark campaign, because we always get the pushback. We've always gotten the questions of, really, Newark? And the answer is yes, Newark. So overall, they were surprised, impressed. The visit went well. Subsequent conversations have gone well. And I think overall, as the mayor said, just kind of being the underdog and folks not expecting us to be on the list at all, those conversations and those expectations have, for us, we're not surprised, right? I keep giving this analogy. I'll give this analogy over and over and over again. It's like the kid who's really bright, who volunteers, maybe he or she plays sports, all around, all-star kid, straight A, and struggled. Grew up and had to struggle. Maybe his parents were poor, whatever it was, struggled, had to overcome a lot to get where they were, right? Applies for college, gets in everywhere he expected, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, whatever you would think, right? Everyone else is surprised, and that kid is not surprised because that kid knows his potential. He knows what he brought to the table. He knows what he's capable of. So everybody around him is like, wow, you got X, Y, and Z. But that kid was confident from the beginning. That's Newark.
There's radio silence, as some people have called it, this summer in terms of Amazon weighing the different cities and so forth. And you just don't, at least from the company itself, and I've done some extensive research on this, you just don't hear the company talking about this.
They're doing everything that you would expect them to do as a large corporation that's trying to pick their second headquarters, right? It's internal. They're doing their due diligence. They're not going to show their cards. They're not going to be outwardly forward with anything because they're dotting all their I's and crossing all their T's, as are we.
You're listening to Newark Today on WBGO 88.3 FM and WBGO.org. Join the conversation, 844-677-9283. Much more to talk about.
I think any opportunity for there to be additional corporate big companies that come to Newark would be positive. I think it brings employment. I think it brings other opportunities. As long as the deal that Amazon gets is fair to the city in terms of like tax ratables and things like that, they shouldn't be getting a break to come here. They should be contributing. I know they do that with Audible, so as long as they're contributing to Newark, I think it's fine.
A concern echoed across the city. Welcome back to Newark Today on WBGO 88.3 FM and WBGO.org. The call-in show here, of course. We're taking your questions and your concerns about Amazon's second headquarters potentially locating in the great city of Newark, New Jersey, in the Garden State. The number to call is 844-677-9283. My in-studio guest, of course, this evening, Mayor Ras Baraka and Aisha Glover, President and CEO of Newark Community Economic Development Corporation. On the line with us is Erica. Erica, I'm never going to try your last name, but I know you're the New Jersey State Director for Americans for Prosperity Foundation. Pronounce your last name for me, if you would, please.
Sure, it's Jedinak.
Jedinak. Okay, that's just like it's spelled. Erica, you have concerns about Amazon's second headquarters coming to Newark. What are those concerns?
Sure. So just thank you for having me on tonight. And our biggest concern at Americans for Prosperity is the corporate incentives that have been offered. So it's the Amazon deal for New Jersey, or what's been offered to Amazon, is the most lucrative in the entire country. And we're very concerned with the massive pension crisis here, record high property taxes in the state, people leaving, corporate welfare hasn't worked the past 8 years, higher than ever. And so we're very concerned that this is more than ever a burden on the taxpayers of New Jersey.
And so for that reason alone, you oppose Amazon coming, or just what the offer is?
Just what the offer it is. I think, a place like Newark should be touting its location in between, population centers like New York City, Philadelphia, access to the ports and freight corridors, and that the state should look at lowering business taxes and creating a more stable business climate. But I think it would be fantastic if Amazon could come to New Jersey.
But what would happen if Newark is considered one of the finalists, 20 finalists out of 238 cities across the U.S., Canada, and Mexico that all apply for this. What would happen to Newark's bid, honestly, realistically, if Newark and New Jersey did not offer the kind of incentives that they are offering in terms of in terms of competing with other places, Atlanta, Boston, and so forth? Okay, she's no longer there. She apparently went away. But Mr. Mayor, you heard what she had to say. Your response to that.
Oh, so I just want to say first that it's a combination of the package plus the city, and I think Aisha pointed it out pretty eloquently that we have everything. If you was in a business class and they put up all the things that you needed in order to have a successful business, Newark would have those things. And so I think that they came here to cross us off the list. To be honest, is my opinion. And they came here and was pleasantly surprised by what they saw, what they heard, what they felt from what was going on here. What actually their data and their research showed that this isn't a place they should skip over. And I think that plus the fact that we showed them that we were serious. The state came together like in no other state and picked the city and said we're going to support Newark. And Newark and the state came together and pushed that kind of cooperation. It's something that they haven't seen around the country. And I think that is a combination of some of the things that, at least forced them to take a second look at what was going on in our city. The problems that New Jersey have in terms of taxes and all the other kinds of things have really nothing to do with this Amazon piece. It has a lot to do with, the mismanagement of funds. It has a lot to do with us not paying into the pension the way we should have. It has a lot to do with not, fully, supporting public education in all of these districts that we have in the state. There's a lot of reasons why New Jersey is the way it is, and none of it has to do with Newark, or except that the lack of investment in our city. And because the state has not realized that Newark is the economic engine for this state and invest in this state, in this city properly, I think that they've handicapped themselves for a very, very long time.
Where would the offer be following the approach that the Americans for Prosperity Foundation? Where would Newark's bid be if you followed what the foundation said?
I don't think we would take us seriously. I think we had to make a serious offer, and I think that that's important. That we did that we came together, and we put our best foot forward, and was able to catch their eyes so they could see what Newark really was and what it is, and what it has the potential to be. And I think that did that. And they came here, and because I don't believe that the incentives alone is going to make any of these corporations decide to come here. That's not going to, these people, everybody's offering them incentives, and they're making money,
What do you think will be the deciding factor?
A combination of all of those things, the kind of collaboration that they've seen here, a kind of environment where they think they can thrive and grow, where there's some level of cooperation, the dense population of our workforce, the diversity of our workforce that doesn't exist anywhere else. I think they've completely saturated the workforce in the West Coast, that they need to come over on this side. They need to grow their company. They need better, more imaginative, more creative young workers from diverse backgrounds, and we have that to offer here in our city and in this region, period. And Newark is an opportunity to be in New York without being in New York. It's an opportunity to be in Philly without being in Philly. It's an opportunity to be in Boston without being in Boston, right? So we have that kind of unique, and what the caller said, we have done that. So it's not like we just threw out this incentive. We led with what we have to offer. That's what we led with our transportation, with our tech, infrastructure, the dense population of engineers and academics and students that we have in this community, the diversity of it all, this relationship to New York, the second largest seaport, the international airport. We led with that, and if she saw the report, she'll see that all of that is in there.
That's right.
We have, Aisha, pardon me one second, we have a caller here. James, you're still on the line with us?
Yes, I am.
What's
Hello.
your question, your concern? Hello.
Hello. Hey, Mayor. My name is James. I'm a resident of Newark my whole life. I'm 26, going on 27.
How you doing, bro?
And I just want to share my opinion. I think it's a great idea, actually, because it inspires us young individuals. We think of Amazon and the people that's going to bring here, people from different parts of the states. And it's going to inspire us. There's a lot of crimes that happen in Newark, and people say, oh, it's because they're bored. But I believe it's because we need inspiration. I was an individual when I was at 15. I was at the youth house, 3 times. And, one day I worked at a restaurant and I met successful people, and that inspired me. And now I've been very driven, and I think Amazon in Newark will bring great awareness of what it has to offer. This city is beautiful. I've walked around the South Ward, West Ward. I've done, even on my own time, I go talk to kids from Irvington and North Border, and I see it, and I see that the struggle is ubiquitous, but at the same time, I tell them that this doesn't have to be, and that they're in charge of that. And I think, right. Myself, I can't do that. But with Amazon here bringing employees from different parts of the states to live in Newark as well, it will actually open up their eyes a bit more. I mean, I'm not right, but I think it's my opinion, and I think it'll be great. And I love the job that you're doing. It's phenomenal, and I'm thankful for it.
Thanks, James. Mr. Mayor, your response.
Yep, and I don't know that guy. But that was
but
that
you
was,
want to.
Yeah. No, that I think that's great. I think he's right. I mean, the fact that 5 years ago, people wouldn't even imagine Amazon even thinking about Newark to be a location for a second headquarters. For them to even look this way is inspiring, and that's what I said. We have to use this moment to ignite our imagination, our creativity about how we push, develop, use this as an opportunity to continue to push our city forward. And that's what we should be thinking about. How do we come together and figure out how to leverage this moment, this time in history? How do we do something unimaginable that decades of people have been trying to do for a long time. And we need young people like that. That young man, we need his imagination, his courage, his inspiration. We need him because really the answers to these questions, lie with him, and his, in his words and his actions. It lies with him. We just trying to bring everybody together to get it done.
Aisha, your thoughts on the caller?
I always love hearing feedback like that. I get tired of kind of giving the mayor his praises. I think it's great when you hear directly from students and residents. But I hear it, across stakeholder groups. So I appreciate his understanding of the impact that an Amazon could have. And then just to quickly jump back to the previous caller, this is the incentive package is not the only reason. It wasn't, we had to come big. We had to show that we were serious. But St. Louis had a huge package and they weren't shortlisted. There were plenty of cities across the country that offered up large incentives and were not shortlisted. And so for Newark, and then to have that follow-up call, recognizing the mayor's leadership, recognizing the impact, the growth, everything that's been happening around the city, Newark is having its moment and we have to get it right, but we're going to ride this HQ2 thing out to maximize that impact and really make sure that we're shaping the city the way that we want, so that way we have more Jameses. Was that his name?
Yes.
More Jameses. That's right.
When I was doing research for this, I came across something called investorplace.com, and the title was cities that won't get the second Amazon headquarters, and it lists Newark. And this publication says if this were merely a reclamation project, Newark would be a natural choice because of financial incentives offered. Unfortunately, the article says Amazon's also looking for a city that can attract and retain strong technical talent. Newark's 7.9% unemployment rate, by comparison, Seattle's unemployment is 4.5%, is not going to enamor itself to Jeff Bezos and company.
Well, what's interesting about that is I've seen so many articles like that.
Right.
These people are talking about Newark, and that is their emotional knee-jerk response.
Is it also myopic though to think that all the time would simply come
not
from
only is
Newark?
it myopic, it's also and depending on who wrote it, it might be racist. At the end of the day, these are people who are making kind of blanket statements about our city. They don't know what's going on. They don't know that Audible is here. They don't know that IDT is here. They don't know that Panasonic is here. They don't know that we have a burgeoning kind of tech, culture and industry growing in our city, that we have 27 miles of fiber underground in the city of Newark. They don't know any of these things. They're going off what they saw on Fox News, Channel 11, 10, 9, whatever, and they're pushing this kind of narrative of our city, the same narrative they've been pushing for 50 years. Unfortunately, some of us even, devour that narrative at the same time. We have to push back against stuff like that. And even if we don't get Amazon, it's not because of the things that this guy said, right, at all. As a matter of fact, we already won. The fact that he wrote that article means we won, right? Because of all of the cities that they talk about, out of the 200 and damn near 40 cities that they could have listed that won't get Amazon, they had to put Newark in it because Newark is one of the ones that people are thinking about. And that shocks the heck out of a lot of these people.
You're listening to Newark Today on WBGO call-in show. Certainly want to appreciate your current concerns and calls and questions. 844-677-9283. Join the conversation. Bill from Westfield is on the line with us now. Bill, what's your question? What's your concern?
My question is very straightforward, and good evening, and thank you for having me. If Amazon gets into Newark and selects Newark, how does that impact Newark's municipal services, the budget, for example, to a person who lives in a particular neighborhood? Is it data? And could you get another firehouse or hire more teachers for schools? How does it actually impact the quality of life for people who live in Newark?
Well, we already estimate that it raises the amount of money that will go in the coffers in terms of the taxes. It changes the quality of life because people get to have employment, and what employment does to communities and families living in Westfield. So families that are employed, have more stable communities. That in turn leads to more stable schools, which produce, more people that are graduating, that begin to go to college, to help us move our community in a direction towards allowing them, many more people to experience the American dream. All of those things happen in our city. And in terms of logistics, the more resources we have and the more people we have, it allows us to prepare for that, whether we're talking about expanding roads or whether we need a new police station. But I'm going to tell you this, Newark is expanding its police department before Amazon because the city is growing before Amazon. So the city is already growing. So we already have a metro division. We've expanded 2 police departments. We are remodeling precincts. We've opened up OEM. We're about to build a training facility for fire and police so they can advance the things that they have to do with high-rise buildings, because Newark is getting high-rise buildings. We're expanding our port. We're adding more people. So Newark is growing already besides Amazon. Amazon expedites that in a way that's probably unprecedented. So the resources that we get for that will allow us to continue the kind of expansion and resources that we've been witnessing already.
Aisha, when are you expecting a decision from Amazon?
2018. Come on, Michael. You know I was going to give you that one.
So sometime this year.
Sometime this year, and they're going to be moving in phase 1, 2019.
And what does phase 1 include?
500,000 square feet. So ultimately, once this is fully built out, it's 8 million square feet. Obviously, that's going to be phased in over about 10 years, but they're looking immediately for 500,000 square feet.
And Newark has that right now?
Newark has about 20 million square feet that we can accommodate. So what we did was we pulled together a suite of available spaces so they can kind of choose if they wanted to be in the Newark Penn Station area, Newark Broad Street Station area. Again, they're going up to 8 million, but we wanted to show them that they have over 20 million square feet of space to choose from.
An Amazon second headquarters coming to a city like this, in a region like this, certainly they would not hire all of their talent from Newark, and maybe not all from New Jersey. We're talking about people potentially coming from Pennsylvania, people coming from Connecticut, certainly people coming from New York. Is there any concern about the transportation infrastructure at this stage? Because that could really be a drawback. When you start listening to, last summer was supposed to be the summer of hell. It was better than most people thought. This summer seems to be the summer of hell in terms of New Jersey transit and so forth. That has to be a concern.
Certainly. And, I think what a decision like this will help to accelerate is investment on the part of the state and on the part of New Jersey Transit, quite frankly, right? And so, we had a ton of support letters in our proposal, and several of them were from some of our key partners, whether it's Port Authority, New Jersey Transit, our partners at the state level across various agencies, and a recognition that there has to be investments in infrastructure, right? So the infrastructure, the fact that infrastructure is underfunded is not unique to Newark, is not unique to New Jersey. This is a national issue, and it is something that the state has committed to, and New Jersey Transit has committed to, making sure that they make adequate investments should Amazon choose Newark.
But does the offer include enough money, enough offers to say, okay, if the person in the White House and that administration are not committed to the funding for a gateway tunnel and things like that, that there are financial resources here to say, okay, we'll go it alone if we have to?
I think that's an excellent question for the state to answer, and figure out exactly what they're ready, willing, and able to invest in. To kind of go back to the beginning of your question around talent, yes, certainly everyone is not going to be coming from Newark, but we also have to realize that there's a kind of mass exodus that currently happens, right? Where we have a talent drain. We have this kind of brain drain that happens in the city now. We have college graduates. We are the 5th largest college town on the East Coast. We have college graduates that once they graduate, they're not staying in Newark. There are tremendous opportunities for us to retain existing talent, both folks that are coming out of the colleges and universities, also existing residents that are now commuting into New York City. Right. And so there have been a ton of reports and research about this. The Brookings Institute did something a few years ago with a tremendous amount of talent, and specifically in the tech space that's currently right here in New Jersey that gets sucked in by Pennsylvania and even more so by New York City. So we have a tremendous opportunity to leverage this should they come and make sure that folks are living locally, that Newarkers are working locally, but that we're also kind of making sure that New Jersey's not crossing the river.
Mr. Mayor?
Well, I also believe, so all of that, and I believe that, this gives us leverage, nationally if Amazon comes here to begin to recreate that argument again about, because I agree with you 100% that we need the Gateway Tunnel. We need it done. We need it fixed. We wish Christie would have embarked upon it when he had an opportunity to. But that's water under the bridge, no pun intended. We need the federal government to help us.
You don't mean the George Washington Bridge?
Yeah, no. we need that, and I think this gives us an opportunity to restate that argument again of why investment in this area, in one of the most densely populated areas in the East Coast, needs to happen. The federal government needs to make this happen to kind of advance the economy.
Amazon has a incredible fulfillment center not that far from me. I believe it's in Carteret. I went there sometime last year and saw the robots there at work. And they're breaking ground or doing something tomorrow down in West Deptford, down in South Jersey, with another robotic center. They call it some 665,000 square feet. What does that signal to you? That what? I'm going to try this again and try it a different way.
I think they have in total 7 facilities in New Jersey. What it signals to us is what we already know, that our location and accessibility is unmatched. Nowhere else in the entire country do you have this kind of, convergence of highway, rail, airport, seaport, right? And so they're strategically locating as many industrial businesses and port-related businesses look to our area and up and down the turnpike all the way down to 8A, right? But really trying to look a lot more towards Newark because of our location, right? So the number one type of inquiries that come into my office are around industrial. I get dozens of inquiries for industrial space, more so than commercial, retail, residential, anything else. Besides the fact that industrial is just hot right now, everyone recognizes the prime location that is the city of Newark. So Amazon, they're no fools. They're in e-commerce distribution, and it only helps that that the port is making improvements, that the Panama Canal is widening, that the Bayonne Bridge raised, right? I think over the next few years, probably within the next 5 years, you'll see us become the number one port in the nation because they're no longer forced to just go to the West Coast, right? And so kind of being strategic and projecting out what that looks like for a company that's in the business of e-commerce fulfillment and distribution, of course they should be looking at New Jersey. Why wouldn't they be?
Aisha, let me answer this. I'll be real blunt. What's Amazon looking for?
They put everything in their RFP. They're looking for location, transportation, and as the mayor said before, we believe their number one play, their number one reason for moving is a talent play. And folks forget, and your caller from Westfield kind of alluded to this, folks forget that this is the New York City metropolitan area. Newark has, it stands alone in its own right.
Are you competing with New York, though? Doesn't New York have a bid? Did New York make the short list?
Yes.
It did. So are we competing with New York City?
No. New York City is an asset to Newark.
That's right.
That's right.
That's absolutely correct.
They're an asset. I bet you they are bragging about their location in proximity to Newark. They're putting the airport in their proposal. I guarantee you they're putting the seaport in their proposal. I guarantee you that they're talking about Newark and New Jersey when they had to respond to the section around housing and where their workforce is going to live. Everybody knows the housing crisis in Seattle. They know what they're dealing with around homelessness. And I'm confident that Amazon is thinking about and concerned about affordable housing. So what is New York City going to say? New York City is going to say New Jersey is right there, Newark. They're not going to refer to Jersey City. They're not going to refer to Hoboken, right? And so I am confident that New York City is referring to Newark as an asset for them.
Is there a lot of housing available here to accommodate? I mean, certainly you'd have to build more and do a whole lot more in terms of housing, but is there a housing stock here now? Is there a housing situation here now where Amazon will say, you know what, we like that, we can help develop this, we can help make this work for Newark, New Jersey, and we can make this work for our workers?
Absolutely. And one thing to kind of keep in mind is that the entire county of Essex is the size of Seattle. Right. And so we're looking at the greater Newark area. We're looking at the Newark region when we're talking about where folks can live. Certainly you can live in the suburbs if you want. You can live in and around the city. So we have 11,000 units in the pipeline. But even just to look more broadly, we have more than enough housing stock to accommodate not only the influx of 50,000 jobs, but the additional 70 to 110,000 jobs that they would create. And then we have the range of different types of housing, right? You have all the options as well. So whether you want to live in urban, suburban, apartments, homes, whatever it is. So I don't think anybody can put together a package the way that we did with the range of options that we have.
Do you see things taking place in the city, though, that and it may not just be Amazon, some things that are taking place in Newark where businesses, individuals are positioning themselves to say, you know what, something big, something like an HQ2 is about to take place here?
Positioning themselves in terms of what? Holding on to things?
Exactly. Or investing in things?
Yeah, for sure. So, everybody kind of always just says colloquially, you can feel it. There's a momentum. This is happening. That's happening. No one has stopped development in anticipation of, everybody's kind of still moving forward. All the projects, many of the projects that we proposed were going to be developed anyway, whether it was Bear Stadium or Mulberry Commons or South of Market Street site. So all of these projects are still in the pipeline. They're still moving forward. No one's kind of on this kind of wait and see mode. I think overall, when you do have folks thinking about what does this mean for me? Everyone is in this, everyone is in it. Let me put it like that. Everyone is in it. Small businesses, even though you may still have some folks that are skeptical. Overall, people are in it. They're excited. They want to see what comes of it, and they understand the impact that it can have for the residents and the small businesses in the city.
You are listening to Newark Today on WBGO 88.3 FM and WBGO.org. Our guest this evening, as we have been discussing the potential of Amazon's second headquarters in Newark, Aisha Glover. She's the president and CEO of Newark Community Economic Development Corporation, and the Honorable Mayor of Newark, Ras Baraka. Thank our callers, quite a few of them this evening, very concerned, and a lot of questions and concerns and comments about Amazon potentially coming to Newark. And Newark, Newark says that, New York is saying that Newark is an asset. That's an interesting perspective there. I want to thank our guests, of course, and certainly thank the staff. Stephanie Avila on the phones, Chris Tubin and Corey Goldberg, operations, Alexandra Hill, the producer, Doug Doyle, executive director. Thank you once again. I'm your host, Michael Hill, and this is WBGO Newark.